Hey everybody, welcome to this week's live stream. If you're watching this pre-recorded, just give me 1 second. I'm going to allow some people to join in before I get started. You may also fast forward to the point where you see me delete this. Hello to all my beautiful people out there. Welcome into the live stream. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down my top stock picks for tomorrow. I will also be breaking down some side charts to keep an eye on. I will be talking about charts that have potential for the rest of the week beyond tomorrow. And at the end of the session, I will be taking charting requests from you all. It's important to note that I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Everything mentioned here in this live stream is just my opinion. But this is my trading plan, and I tend to think that I have really good opinions. Sama, welcome in. Crystal Ball, off the rip. What up, what up? Juan, welcome in. Jason, Robert, Mr. Bonds, welcome in. Vault Boy, hello. Hello to everybody. By the way, if you're not a subscriber to the YouTube channel, you will not be able to talk in chat. All you have to do is press the subscribe button, wait for 1 minute, then you will have access to be able to talk in the chat. It's not really relevant now, but if you want me to take your charting requests, it's recommended that you just go ahead and subscribe, so that way I can see what you want me to chart. Here's our watch list for tomorrow. We'll jump right into it. Number 1 is RBLX. Without a doubt, RBLX makes our watch list. So we traded this last week, actually on Friday. We had some pretty solid gains. So here's the deal. We got the gap up right here. See that big gray shaded area? That's my gaps. That's how I identify my gaps. The gap up into all-time highs following the earnings report. Nice run, and then since then didn't do much. We had 1-2 days of pullback before popping back up and over that $100 whole number. So our chart looked something like that, and that is why we took this trade on Friday, right? So we got the breakout over 100, boom, the run up towards 110. So we're back at the top side of this range RBLX has been consolidating really between 93 and 110. So here's the deal. Very simple analysis, just looking for a break of 110. Does not get much easier than that. So if it breaks 110, we have a play on it potentially to the top side for the continuation run into the all-time highs. If we don't get a break of 110, then it's easy. No trade, right? No reason to touch this while it chops around up here. Just wait for the break of 110. We'll make it very, very simple and easy on ourselves. That will be the run into new all-time highs. Somebody asked me on my YouTube comments, hey, Gates, how do you know when to take profits if it's into the all-time highs? Listen, if where you want to take profits, that's on you. Like, what do you feel is satisfactory for a profit target? I know that most of my members that trade within my Discord server like to aim for about 20% profits because that's realistic. That's what we could expect to hit every single day. 20% profits. Yes, it's a base hit, but look, 20% profits 5 times with the same amount of capital is 100% growth on that capital. So we aim for typically 20% profits. If it goes beyond that, then great. That's just extra, right? We'll add that on. We'll take that every day. But that's just a good way to kind of gauge when should you start scaling out of a position or start looking at taking profits. 20% is great. Anything over 10% is great. But 20% is really what most of my members aim for. All right, so number 1 on the watch list. Yeah, very simple trade here, trade idea at least. It's a long idea over 110 for the continuation move into new all-time highs. Number 2 on the watch list will be CGC. All right, let me clean this up a little bit. I've got quite a bit of lines here. CGC, so you already see that I have the pennant pattern drawn out for you here. This is kind of a post-earnings play as it started to move up following the earnings report. Also, there's a little bit of news surrounding the pot stock community. But what's really interesting to me about CGC is that this green dotted line right here, that's your 50 EMA. CGC now has a daily candle, a daily chart time frame candle that has closed over this 50 EMA for the first time in months. I'm talking about 7.5, 8 months. I mean, we don't have a close over the 50 EMA on the daily chart until way back here. So this whole time frame from here all the way down to here, this is the first time that CGC has closed over that 50 EMA. And it's following a positive news backing, so a catalyst and earnings as well. Lots of volume coming in here. You see that's the big blue bars in the background. Looks promising. We've got a pennant breakout pattern here. So we got the pennant formed on lower volume, the big breakout on higher volume, confirming the move up, the reversal move up. We've started to put in higher highs here on CGC. So what I'm looking for is a continuation. All right, our next resistance point on CGC based on the daily chart time frame is going to be right here at $16. So you see the bounce and then the candles that rejected there. That's going to be our profit target from where we're currently at. So it'll be a long idea over 15.3, maybe 15.4, might change depending on the open for the run up to 16. That gives us about a 4.5% profit margin, give or take. For CGC to remain relevant, in my opinion, it absolutely has to hold up over 14.4. It needs to hold up over that 50 EMA because you see what happened last time when it broke over the 50 EMA here and then pulled right back down below it. It didn't go anywhere, right? It stayed with the trend, which at that time was down. So I think that if we're looking at this as a possible reversal from this long downtrend here, that CGC needs to hold up. Even if we get the pullback tomorrow, CGC needs to hold up over that 50 EMA for it to even have my interest. I've been hesitant about adding pot stocks to the day trade watch list because what they like to do is pop on news, positive news, and then have no follow through, right? So they'll get a pop move like this that looks promising, and then no follow through. So we'll see if this is the week that we get some follow through on these pot stocks. If so, this is in my opinion, just the beginning of this reversal. Lots of room here up towards that 200 EMA near $20, but we're pretty far off from that point right now. But yeah, that's about 24% or so from where we're currently at. So we will be looking for the run towards 16, take it one step at a time on CGC. Ideally, I'd like to see it hold up over $15. All right. But I would give this room to come down to 14.4 or so before writing it off. So CGC will be a pattern breakout play. So that's your bull pennant pattern right there. Pattern breakout play, continuation idea over the 50 EMA, long idea over 15.3. The next one on the watch list for tomorrow will be TTD. We've been on this one. We have been on TTD as it pushed up into new all-time highs. Very similar pattern to RBLX. Well, it's not a similar pattern, but it's a combination of the last two trades that we looked at. Being RBLX at all-time highs, TTD is also at all-time highs, and then being CGC with the pennant breakout pattern. This one is also presenting us with a pennant breakout pattern. We've got one more factor to add in here on TTD, and that is the $100 hold number. All right, so TTD actually closed over that level last week, barely. It was right there at it. So what we're looking for is for 100 to continue to hold as a support, and we're looking for the break of 101 for the continuation into all-time highs. With these continuation plays into the all-time highs, I mean, it's very, very cut and dry. Look, either you're going to get a break of 101 and this is going to continue to run, or you're not. And in the event that you don't get the 101 break, there's no real need to trade this long. Unless you're trying to catch a reversal and you happen to time that reversal properly, there's no real trade here beyond that. All right, so if this does not break 101, I don't have any intention of trading this. My only plan for TTD is to trade the continuation breakout. By the way, if you're just joining in, you're late. All right, welcome in. The stream is being recorded, so you will have access to the beginning part of this right after we end the stream. You can go back and rewatch the first part of the analysis. I've only talked about a couple of stocks though, so you haven't missed much. But where have you been? Where have you been? The last one on our main chart watch list will be BLNK. Blink. BLNK. I have no bias on this one. So in the last three, I was really only looking for a continuation breakout play, right? Like CGC, I'm looking for it to go. RBLX, I'm looking for it to go. TTD, I'm looking for it to go. But with BLNK, I don't have that same that same drive here. I'm not really looking for I mean, I would love to see it continue to move up, yes. But I would also take a trade on this if it comes down, and here's why. Below 38.5 on TTD or on BLNK, there is this gray shaded box. That is a gap. That gap was caused by earnings. So what I'm looking for is a gap fill down to the bottom side from 38.5 down to about 36 in the event that this gap area does not hold as a support, right? And so if we flip to the 5-minute time frame, we can kind of see that this was a symmetrical triangle that broke down, retested, and then continued down. And even after hours, I mean, it looks like it's going to come back down and retest this area anyways. We'll have to see what the pre-market price action looks like. But if it's opening up near $38 or near $39, I would be more biased towards shorting this down into the gap than I would be on taking this long. Now the flip side of that is that if BLNK opens up here near 43 or near 42, then I would be looking for the breakout continuation play to the top side. So this can go either way, and that may not feel high probability to you. But look, this big pennant pattern here, if we get a break of this peak, then we have a continuation, and there's a lot of room for this to run if it can continue up from here. Otherwise, there's still plenty of gap to fill down to the bottom side. I think this is about 6% here. 6.8%. Yeah, almost 7% then. So gap fill down to the bottom side on BLNK or continuation trade to the top side. So we're looking for a break of 43 to the top side or a break of 38.5/38 to the to go short on it. All right, and that's it. That's it for our main chart watch list. So quick review, that will be RBLX, all right, TTD, CGC, BLNK. All of those making our main chart watch list. What I'm going to do now is talk about some side charts that have potential to make our main chart watch list, but they're not as there's not as much confirmation on them yet. There can be, but not as much as there is on these. All right, you got those written down? Cool. Side charts. Here we go. Number 1, UPST. UPST. So UPST has dropped from the earnings report and is now trading below the 50 EMA. I mean, this thing was way overdone to the top side anyways. So to see it drop on earnings, it's not a big surprise. But it started to, since earnings, it hasn't done anything. It's just began to range trade. So it's moving between a static level of support being at 240 and a static level of resistance being at 270. That's creating a range. We have 3 days of consolidating between those two levels, and something's got to give at some point. I just don't know if that's going to be tomorrow or if it's going to be Tuesday or Friday. I don't know when that's going to happen, but I'm ready for it if and when it happens. And that is exactly why UPST is a side chart item and not a main chart, because we don't have confirmation yet. So here's the deal. Above 270, there's a gap. Right, from 270 all the way up to, let's just say, 310. We've got about a 13 to 14% gap there for UPST to fill to the top side. So a break of 270, I'm bullish on it. I'm looking to go long. Since it closed closer to 270 towards the end of last week, I'm really just looking for the break of 270. But that doesn't mean that we can't take a short position on this either, because if this pushes down to 240, well then I'm looking to short it below the lows into new lows. And there's plenty of room for this to fall back down to 200 because it went up pretty quickly, right? And we know the adage, you take the stairs up, you take the elevator down. So just as fast as it went up, it can come down twice as fast. So a break of 240, I'm bearish on it. A break of 270, I'm bullish on it. It's not giving us any direction right now, so there's no trade on this until it breaks one of those two levels. There are traders that love to trade within ranges, and that's fine. If that's you, you're like, hey, it's at support, let's buy it at support. Hey, it's at resistance, let's sell it at resistance, and then rinse and repeat, right? And you can do that for as long as this stock consolidates within this range. But as options day traders, you know, we're not really looking for that up and down motion. We want to see a directional move, either up or either down, right? Just give us one day, one big candle, up or down. That's really what we're aiming for. So I have no problem putting UPST on the side chart watch list for a week straight or for 2 weeks straight, for as long as it takes for this to break this, until it breaks this range. I will stay on the sidelines until I get confirmation, and then that's my cue to jump in. Number 2 on the side chart watch list will be ROKU, ROKU. Another one that fell on the earnings report, and it's actually down pretty large from these highs here. This to me though looks like what's known as a falling wedge pattern. So despite what it looks like, it's actually a bullish reversal pattern. And I don't know, again, much like UPST, I don't know if this is going to reverse and give us that big breakout day to the top side that we're looking for. But in the event that it does, I want to be ready, and that's exactly why I'm mentioning this. So for the falling wedge pattern to be broken, what we need to see is a break of this downtrend trend line here. So ROKU all the way up until this time has been putting in these lower highs, right? We want to see higher highs put in, and we won't truly have that confirmation until we get a break of $280. And we definitely don't want to see it put in a new low, because if it does, well then that means the pattern's failed and it's just broken down to the bottom side, right? So from here, what we're looking for is a break of $280 for the run back up towards 290. I think you might see some resistance at 285, but then beyond that it'll be 290 and then ultimately $300. All right, so for ROKU, just make sure you have your alerts set at 280. No trade there until or unless it breaks $280. Looking for a break of the falling wedge pattern here. The next one on the side chart watch list, these are all side chart items. We're talking about stocks that don't have confirmation yet but could. The next one on the side chart watch list will be Dash. That's D-A-S-H, DoorDash. This one had an amazing run following the earnings report, and it's still going. What I'm waiting for on Dash though, and the reason why this is a side chart item, is because it's just under the all-time highs at 256. So it's trading, we hit highs of, we'll just round up and say we hit highs of 250. The next resistance is going to be at or around 256. So given the extension that Dash has had up to this point, I would almost expect it on its first test of 256 to reject. So what I want to see is, I would love to see a move up to 256 and a rejection first before ultimately breaking 256 and continuing to run. All right, so DoorDash will be a long idea only on the break of 256. We might change that to go long at 250 if the opening price is maybe a little lower than where it's currently at. But I think that the main plan here is going to be to trade it safe and just wait for the break of $256 before we take a position on this. Also, if you are an options day trader, be careful on the spreads for DoorDash. It hasn't really mattered because the stock has been running like crazy, but there is a pretty wide spread on those contracts at times. I've seen them tighten up, and then I've seen them get really wide. So just be cautious if you're trading Dash. In fact, that was the reason why it was on the watch list last Friday. But that was the reason why I didn't touch it. It was because the options contract, they were too spready. All right, the next one will be Amazon, side chart watch list item. So we saw a lot of stocks kind of reverse. Let me talk about /ES first. So this /ES pulled back. We had that pullback there, and then it reversed and made the larger move, back up to the top side. So with that reversal, we saw stocks like Netflix make a big move. We saw stocks like Facebook make a big move. We saw stocks like Amazon even make a pretty decent move, but Amazon hasn't broken out like those other FANG stocks were showing. So what I'm looking for is a breakout of this bull flag pattern here, if and only if we have market backing. So this would be a long idea over 33.50 if and only if the overall market is green tomorrow. For the run up to 3,600, that's going to be your resistance point 1. But I'm hoping that if we do get a breakout of this level, that we get a higher high put in here, and so we see a larger green day come out of Amazon. All right, so that's our side chart watch list. That's going to be UPST, ROKU, Dash, Amazon. Those are stocks that don't necessarily have confirmation yet, but they are presenting pretty decent setups here. We'll see if we can get some follow through on the patterns that they're shaping up. All right, I want to talk about 3 stocks right now that may or may not make the watch list, and they are going to depend. It's going to depend on the opening price of these stocks. Number 1 is Microsoft. So Microsoft, you see, is kind of following the overall market with the run up, the pullback, and then the little bit of green there. Microsoft is also conveniently located right now just below the all-time high. So let's just round it up and say 339. So what I'm looking for on Microsoft, potentially, is an open near 339 or near 338.72 or even over 338 for the run up to and through those all-time highs. If Microsoft opens up here, I want to see it under 339, but if it opens up here, I will put this on the watch list for an all-time high breakout trade. All right? Very simple, just looking for 339 to break. If it doesn't, if it opens up near 335 or any lower than where it's currently at, I'm not interested in it. I only want to trade this or only want to put this on the watch list if it opens up near 339, so that way we could just take the breakout of the all-time highs and run this bad boy up. Or bad girl. Number 2, PayPal. PayPal. This one will also depend on the opening price. So PayPal has dropped quite a bit even before earnings. PayPal has dropped quite a bit from 310 all the way down to 200. All right. And now it's holding support very well at the $200 whole number. It has a gap over about 212.5 up to 225, which in itself is about a 6% gap. So I like PayPal where it's, I think that PayPal is a great, this is not investing advice, but I think it's a great long-term hold. I think that PayPal is priced pretty cheap at this point. And if you were a swing trader, or if you are a swing trader, I love the risk to reward here. Because at the very worst, even if you bought it right now, you just mark it by where it's at. Let's say you're buying shares. You mark it by it where it's at. You're looking at a 4% stop out with a profit target of 8%. That's a 2-to-1 ratio right there. So your stop loss would be probably below 200. Your price target at minimum would be 225 for the gap fill. That's an 8% profit margin and a 4% stop out. I love the risk to reward here. That to me is worth it, just from a swing trading or investing standpoint. Now, talking about the day trade side of this, I'm not going to put PayPal on the watch list until unless it opens up here near 212.3 or about 212. I want to see it open up close to this gap area. Then I'll throw it on the watch list and we'll trade it up into that gap for the potential gap fill. But not unless that happens, right? I want to see this open up towards the top side of this gap area first, or towards the bottom side of this gap area first, for the run to and through that gap. Cool? All right. The next one and the very last one that may have potential to make the watch list, depending on its opening price, will be ticker Unity. I've added this to the watch list before. I added it to the watch list down here when it was kind of creating that ascending triangle pattern, but it got very messy leading up to earnings. Earnings happened, and then I just took it off the watch list because there were other things going on. But I like it now. I like where it's at. The only thing that's holding me back from putting this on the side chart watch list or on the main chart watch list is that it's trading just under the $200 whole number, which is going to be a likely point of resistance from where it's currently at. So if I were to say, yeah, let's put this on the watch list as a long idea over like 197.5 for the run up to 200, we're only allowing ourselves 1.26% profit margin, which is not enough. So what I want to see on ticker U, before I put this on the watch list, is an open at or near $200, so that all we have to worry about is playing it long on the break of 200. Cool? All right, so then our opening stocks will be PayPal, Microsoft. Our main chart watch list items will be RBLX, TTD, CGC, BLNK. And our side chart items will be UPST, ROKU, Dash, Amazon. all of those stocks, these stocks most likely make the watch list without a doubt. These will likely be on the side chart watch list, and these may or may not be on the watch list depending on the open. This can change by the morning. This is all subject to change by the morning depending on where the stock market's at, what news comes out, if any of these stocks fall overnight or if they gap up too much overnight. All of this can change by the morning, but this is just my plan as of right now. What I want to do at this point is, actually before I do that, let me mention this. If you're just joining in to this live stream and you've missed the analysis on any of these stocks here, the live stream is recorded and you will be able to watch it from the beginning as soon as I end the stream. All right, so just stay patient. I'll end the stream here in a few, and then you can rewatch it from the beginning and get the breakdown on all these. All right, what I want to do now is go ahead and move into the Q&A portion of this live stream. So if you have any stocks that you want me to review, I ask that you type them up in the chat box, but don't just call out random stocks. Try to provide some analysis on them. It helps me see what you see and the reason why you're calling it out in the first place. Let's see. Somebody said BLNK looks good whichever way it chooses. Yeah, that's exactly why it's on the watch list. So I have no bias on BLNK. If it moves up, I'll look to trade it up. If it comes down into the gap, I'll look to short it into the gap. And that's what I like about where it's currently trading at right now. Please look at ICE. Yeah, so somebody actually posted this in my Discord server earlier on. I looked at the setup. I like it here. I don't know anything about this stock or what it is. The contracts, though, from a day trading perspective, I would be very cautious about this spread, right? Well, these look terrible, so I wouldn't trade any of those. But this spread, it's pushing the limits on being too much. So I'm not a fan of it from like an options day trading standpoint. But I do like the setup. It's a break of the downtrend here. You've got previous resistance over here being held as support. You've got the picture-perfect doji coming in at the bottom on lower volume. You've got higher volume putting in the higher highs. I mean, yeah, everything about this setup looks like it says it's going to continue up. But again, from an options day trading perspective, just be careful on the contracts, whatever contracts you're looking at. Somebody mentioned ATVI. What's my thoughts on this? Yeah, so again, I always will identify my gap areas with this big gray shaded box. So ATVI fell down to lows of like 64.5, met some resistance up here at around 69, and has most recently broke through 69 and met new resistance at 70. So the statistics for gap fills are it's crazy. I think like 90% of gaps get filled at some point within the market. So ATVI has began to fill this gap. Do I think that it's going to fill the whole thing in one go? Well, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, that happens sometimes. But gaps can also partially be filled as well. So yeah, ATVI looks great for a continuation trade into this gap as a gap fill with a long idea being placed over $70. I mean, it's very simple too. Like that's going to work out. That's a nice round number for you to look at and say, yeah, if it's over it, I'm bullish. If it's below it, I'm bearish. I talked about PayPal already, so I see a couple of you asking about that. Yeah, I already talked about that one. Somebody's mentioning Riot. Riot and Mara, I don't have any analysis on those because they both kind of move with Bitcoin. So I'm not going to, from a technical standpoint, I'm just not going to break it down. It just seems pointless, right? When something moves primarily on fundamentals, technical analysis really doesn't matter all that much. I will talk about Home Depot, though. I see you're asking about that one as well. So Home Depot has earnings coming up. It's not doing anything here leading up to earnings. It did run, but has since pretty much done nothing. So again, I would say that this is a bull flag pattern. All technicals are telling me that is a bull flag pattern. but the reason why I wouldn't consider that pattern to hold a bunch of weight is because earnings is upcoming. So remember that patterns and anything to really deal with analysis and charting is it's all technical based, whereas earnings reports, they're fundamental based. Fundamentals will always take precedence over technicals. So I could sit here and say that this is a bull flag pattern all day long and it looks like it's going to break out, and that could be the case. But if Home Depot has a bad earnings report, this technical setup, the bull flag bullish continuation pattern, it doesn't matter. So I would probably just set an alert maybe up here at 375 and say if it breaks out beforehand, I've got a potential trade there. Maybe because sometimes stocks will run in anticipation of earnings, but this has kind of already had its run, so maybe that's what this was. Otherwise, I would just wait until after the earnings report and play it to whatever direction it decides to go. Somebody mentioned Facebook as a long idea over 345 for room up to 350. I'm actually going to disagree with you on that. So that's not enough profit margin there from 345 up to 350. That's only 1.37%. I usually aim for a little bit more profit margin. I do see what you're talking about though, right? The pullback to the 200 EMA, bounce off the 50. Pulled back, reclaimed the 200 EMA, bounced off the 50. Pulled back, bounced off the 200, and now we're back again over the 50. It does look like Facebook is trying to build some support in this area and could continue up. So I agree with you there. As far as taking a trade on it at 345 goes, I am going to disagree with you because the profit margin from 345 up to 350 is just not there for me. I also wouldn't take a trade on this over 342 or 343 where it's currently at because I don't know that it's going to push all the way to 350. Maybe it rejects at 345 or maybe it rejects at 347. So for Facebook, my plan is to wait for the stock to push up towards 350 and then add it to the watch list because that would tell me that we do have higher highs confirmed and being put in, and we could start to look to trade this as a reversal off of this 200 EMA area. Be patient with your setups. There are setups out there that look good that might be reversing, and I'm going to say might be, put that in quotation marks. They might be reversing or they might have potential in the future. Yes, all of those things are true, but be patient with your setups because if you can wait until a setup gets to a point where it has to make a decision, a directional decision, either it's going to go up or it's going to go down, then that increases your chances of making big money and trading it on the day that's worth it to be traded, rather than trading it on a day where, oh yeah, it could go or it could reject. Or maybe it could go and I'll get lucky, or maybe it just chops around. Wait for those setups to get to that point. And oftentimes it does require you to wait until you have confirmation first. But there's no problem with doing that because having confirmation just means that you have confirmation. And a lot of traders that see these stocks after they have confirmation will also want to jump in on it on the very next chance that they get. So if you have confirmation first, then it's okay to catch the stock or the trade as a continuation. Again, this is not investing advice. This is just my opinion, but I think that Facebook is at a great price point right now, kind of given what it's going to be involved with as far as the metaverse goes and as far as the future goes. So this is a nice dip, and the 200 EMA is a good spot usually to be buying on a stock that is uptrending. So just kind of throwing that out there. I don't think that this price really is going to matter much in the next 5 to 10 years. All right, next one. Shopify just broke all-time highs, possible continuation. Sure. Yeah, I like all of that. What I don't like are the options, the contracts here. They're very pricey and they're very low on your open interest. So just be careful there. But yeah, I mean, 1700 is overhead too. Be mindful of that as a whole number and as a possible point of resistance. But this was a big move, and that was a lot of volume. And I had alerts set down here at 1560, and I'm sitting here thinking, yeah, okay, great. Shopify is over 1560. We'll see if it can get over 1600. And I got that alert go off. Then I got an alert at 1650, and I was like, Jesus, wow, that's crazy. The stock really made its move, right? So yes, I do like this as a continuation. I don't like the options chain. And I looked at this one earlier too. But yeah, if you're not trading options on it, then yeah, by all means, go for it. Somebody's wanting to ask me about Zoom for a possible earnings play. Here's the deal. I don't play earnings. It's a total gamble. It is a total 50-50 toss-up. So if you want to play earnings as a lotto, then go for it, right? If you like to gamble and that's your thing, I have nothing against it. And in some cases, it can make you quite a bit of money. I've literally seen somebody turn $20,000 into about $250,000 overnight with a total lotto gamble on Amazon earnings. I've seen it happen, but they could have easily lost that $20,000 too. So you asking me about a Zoom earnings play, I mean, the only thing I'm going to say about that is that it's a lotto, and be prepared or be okay with losing everything that you put in if you're going to trade this through earnings. If you're trading options, that is. Somebody said Tesla. Tesla looks weak to me. Tesla looks really weak. So this pattern, we have a joke in the server. It's called the chair pattern, where a stock falls, rebounds, consolidates maybe a day, and then comes right back down. So it looks like a chair, but then it just keeps flushing. That is what this looks like to me. Pull back, push up, and it's on its way back. On its way back down. Tesla went up very fast, and then had more than one negative news article come out on the stock. So, well, not news article, I guess news pieces. The whole thing with Hertz and there not actually being a deal there yet is the thing that caused the first $100 drop on this stock overnight. And then Elon tweeted about selling his shares of Tesla also. So that was something that's probably driving this price down. In my opinion, Tesla looks weak right now, just based off the chart. But I almost know better than to short Tesla. But I would look for, like, if you are a short bias trader, I would look for a break of 1,000 for the move down to this gap area around like 940, 945. And then from there, maybe look for the break below that to fill the rest of this gap down to like 900. So there's still plenty of room for Tesla to come down, but I'm not so sure that like I would be a buyer here just yet, especially with all the, again, all that negative news that was kind of following the stock. You guys said Costco as an all-time high play. Yep. I mean, I don't have to beat the dead horse on these. Somebody said AMAT as an all-time high play. Yep. All-time high plays. They're very simple, right? You're just looking for new all-time highs. Somebody said, what's my thoughts on AMD? AMD, it was really run up. I think it might still have potential, though, given like the supply chain shortage that's going on. And then like the whole metaverse thing too. I think that AMD actually still has potential to keep going, but it's experiencing right now a much needed pullback. So we'll see. This almost to me looks like a bear flag pattern from this drop right there, but the overall trend is up. So my thoughts on AMD would be this: wait for AMD to get over 150. Before deciding to take it long near 154, 155. Otherwise, if it can't break 150 and can't hold up there, you'll probably see this pull back a little further. LCID is at a point right now where it hasn't made a decision and there's earnings coming up. So this is another pennant pattern that was shaped up. I looked at this one earlier. It is another pennant pattern that's shaped up, but earnings is upcoming. So I would assume that it probably just moves sideways into earnings. I have an alert set right there at 46 just in case it decides to go. But I think at this point, you might just be better off waiting for the earnings report to come out and then trading it the day after. Waiting to see if it's going to gap up or gap down. Let's see, somebody said Nike, huh? Nike. It's pulling back off of the all-time highs. I don't necessarily see anything here that looks high probability to me. Maybe if it can get over 175, I'd be interested in a run towards those all-time highs. This is a healthy pullback though, so I do like that. But yeah, I would wait for it to break that downtrend and maybe get up and over this peak over here at 175 before having, like, that would be my confirmation that it's going to continue up. So I would wait for a break of 175 on Nike. INTC, potential gap fill. Yeah, so I'm not going to say that that's a falling wedge. I believe that's what you mentioned there. Yeah, so you said this is a potential falling wedge. Maybe, yes, but usually falling wedges occur after the stock is already falling, right? So like, since this is occurring after the stock has run up, I would almost be more inclined to say that this is not a falling wedge and that this is a bull flag pattern. The difference between this and something like ROKU is that ROKU has a falling wedge that's formed after the stock has been falling, right? So how can we have a falling wedge on a stock that has been rising recently? You see what I mean? They're two very different setups. So I'm going to disagree with you that that's a falling wedge, but I am going to agree with you that the gap area is overhead and it still has plenty of gap to fill. So no trade on INTC until it gets over 52, and that's exactly why I have an alert set right there. Somebody mentioned DOCS on a range break. So there's a lot of volume coming in here. What was that about? News, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, your resistance is very clear, though. It's at 77. That price point has been hit on 3 separate days. 1, 2, and 3. So on the daily chart time frame, it is holding that 200 EMA as a support. It's fighting to get up and over that 50 EMA. Yes, I would set an alert at $77 and wait for the break of 77 for the run up. And this looks like this stock makes pretty big moves too. That's a nice average true range. I've actually never looked at this stock, but look, I mean, it makes like 10% candles all the time. So even if you're not trading options on this, like just the shares would be a nice payout. Yeah, so I would look for a break of $77, and thank you for bringing this one to my attention. I've never looked at this before. Not a big fan of the spread here on the options contracts. But I mean, with this average true range, you probably would be fine with just buying the shares on a break of 77. Somebody said MU looking for the break of 78. Yeah, so MU is another one that kind of falls into that semiconductor category with AMD and with NVIDIA. Yeah, it is a breakout. It is a pennant pattern breakout right here off of the 200 EMA, right? So that's good. Anytime you're looking at a stock on the daily chart time frame and it's trading above that 200 EMA, which is that blue line right here, it's considered to be in an uptrend. And so one way that you can increase your chances of being correct or being profitable on a day trade is to trade with the overall direction or with the overall trend of the stock on a larger time frame. So since MU is already pushing up, the trend is your friend, and the momentum is going to likely continue to carry it up. So yes, I would agree with you that MU looks good for a break of 78 for the continuation run topside. And there's some nice volume coming in here too. All right, good eye, good eye. HD, yeah, I already talked about HD. I already talked about Nike. NVIDIA, you're mentioning NVIDIA. Yeah, NVIDIA is still chopping around up here. Earnings is upcoming. I don't think that, so like, I would probably guess that NVIDIA, I mean, this is just a guess, by the way, but I would guess that NVIDIA beats earnings. But since the price of the stock has been run up so much leading up to this point, I can't really imagine that NVIDIA has a great earnings report and then gaps up and continues to go. I could be totally wrong. It has happened before, but you have to start to consider, like, you know, what's the risk to reward here. So with earnings upcoming, and it's upcoming pretty quick, I don't think that NVIDIA is worth my time until after the earnings report. Because even if it pushed up to like 320 or 323, like it might take a day or two for it to get there, and then earnings is going to come out anyways, and that's really what's going to be that the driving factor that dictates the price of the stock. So I think it's better to just wait for NVIDIA to report earnings before taking a trade on it. Here's one that's somewhat interesting. Yeah, so somebody mentioned Apple as a long idea over 150. I've been watching Apple like a hawk ever since earnings because it hasn't done anything really. It had this gap up, then it pulled back, then it recovered, then it pushed up, couldn't make a new high, then pulled back, and now it's starting to push back up again. It's one of those stocks that also, like Netflix and like Facebook, had a very nice day on Friday and moved up kind of with the overall market, but it's not really giving us direction. So you're saying Apple is a long idea over 150. I somewhat agree with you, but I think that the better trade would maybe just to be to wait on this to break 152. Like if we were to draw trend lines to encompass all of this price action here, it's just chop, you know? So I'm really staying patient on Apple and waiting for it to decide what it wants to do from here, and then play the trend either up or down after it decides. So I would wait. I don't think I would take Apple long over 150. If you want to play something that will likely move with the direction of the overall market, and you're bullish on the market and you think it's going to continue up from where it's currently at, I would take a look at Amazon. Amazon looks pretty decent over 33. I believe it was 33.50 is what we were talking about. Oh, sorry, no, 35.50. 35.50. Yeah, with that bull flag set up there. All right, I'm gonna take a few more here. Let's do XPEV. XPEV. Earnings is upcoming. It was shaping up a bull pennant pattern and broke down, but then pushed back up. It's very choppy right now. A lot of volume coming in at the rejection of $50. So at this point, I would wait for, let's just play it safe. I would wait for a break of $50.50 before taking that long. You really want to see, to have confirmation, I think you would really want to see a break of $50 and then a candle to close over $50 on the daily chart time frame. Somebody mentioned Dash. We already discussed Dash. So if you're just tuning into the live stream, it will be available. It is recorded and it will be available for you to watch in its entirety after I end this stream. So I'm going to take two more stocks here, and we're running on that 1 hour time mark. So I'm going to take two more, and then we'll call it an afternoon. Yeah, for XPEV though, I would wait for the break of 50. All right, somebody said CSCO, CSCO. Earnings upcoming. I don't see any setup here on CSCO. We did trade this though on the break of 58 for the run up. That was a bull flag breakout pattern, which worked really nicely for us in the morning. But by the end of the day, that had come down and ultimately could not hold up over $58. And so it's pulled back to that 50 EMA where it's seemingly being bought up again. With earnings upcoming, I would expect it to probably just consolidate and move sideways into earnings. And then we can look to take a trade on this after the earnings report. Just for future reference, a lot of you are mentioning plays that have earnings this week. Sometimes, like if the stock has already ran up prior to an earnings report, usually that is the earnings report being priced in. And then you'll see the week of earnings report, it gets choppy. If it's already choppy leading up to earnings, then after making a bigger move up, then it's likely it'll stay choppy into earnings until that report comes out, and then you'll see the move happen. Otherwise, if it's choppy without any larger move, if it's choppy into earnings without any larger move prior, then you could expect or anticipate some sort of run into the earnings report if investors think that the stock is going to beat earnings. A lot of times earnings, like before earnings even comes out, it can serve as a catalyst for the stock running up to that point, like even two to 3 weeks out sometimes. We did already talk about Netflix. We'll do IWM. IWM. So this is another one that is trading close to the, let me back this up so you can see. So it's trading close to the all-time highs. I'm on the weekly chart time frame here. And it did break out of a larger range or bull flag pattern, if you will, and has started to pull back a little bit. I think that this could be the start of the next leg up on IWM, but it could pull back a little bit further before continuing. So oftentimes, like what will happen is you'll see a breakout like this, and then you'll get a pullback retest of that old resistance as new support, which was pretty close right here. So this almost pulled all the way back to 235 before starting to bounce once more. So you won't have confirmation that this is continuing up until you get a break of about $244. But it's nice to take a look. It's nice to take a look at this and say, okay, well, resistance is very clearly placed right at around. Let's just make it even, right at around $230. So a break of 230, if this continues down, right? A break of 230 means that this pop move that it made into new all-time highs was just a fake out, and it's not truly a breakout here. But if it pulls back and holds 230 as a support, well, then you know that that breakout is being confirmed, and you can start to look to take this long on the reversal back up. But from where it's at right now, you won't have confirmation that it's bouncing until it puts in new highs, in my opinion. So that would be a break of $244. All right, so quick review. RBLX, TTD, CGC, BLNK, all making the main chart watch list. UPST, Roku, Dash, Amazon, all making the side chart watch list. PayPal, Microsoft, all stocks that will be making the watch list if they open up at the price points that we want them to open up at. If the videos helped you out, press the like button. If you think you're going to make some money, press the like button. If you think I suck, press the like button. Thanks for your time. I will see you all tomorrow morning. I hope you make some money this week. And if you do, share the profits with me. I love seeing it. It really makes my day. All right, take care. Enjoy your afternoon. And if I didn't get to your chart request, I'm sorry, but you can always shoot me a direct message, and I'll tell you my thoughts on it then. Thank you. Bye.